Hi, Erica.
Hello. Well, welcome to our stage and thank you so much for kicking off the day for us to talk about consumer engagement. I am going to let you guys take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for that wonderful video. I loved it, by the way. Awesome. Very good. Hi, everyone. And thank you for joining us today for the session on the Braze 2021 Customer Engagement Review session. My name is Magith Noohukhan. I'm the Evangelist at Braze. Braze is a customer engagement platform, and our vision is to forge human connection between consumers and the brands they love through relevant and memorable customer experiences. And I'm super excited that I'm joined today by Erica Rutledge from Ibotta. We have invited Erica here today because Erica is a great marketer who have made a huge impact at Ibotta using customer engagement. And we knew Erica would have a lot to share with all of you today and their story of success from Ibotta. So welcome to the show, Erica. And before I hand it over to Erica in a few minutes, let's jump directly into the research that we have published here at Braze. So in February, Braze released our 2021 Global Customer Engagement Review. And we decided to do this research because after years of brands rapidly rethinking about digital experiences because of the pandemic, we wanted to give a deeper understanding and defining of what success looks like in this space and identifying ways for marketers can improve their result, right? So it's the first of its kind. And we conducted this decision maker survey by interviewing more than 1,300 VP plus across 10 global markets with an annual revenue of 10 million plus US dollars from their company. And of course, we have tapped into our customer base as well to uncover tactics that drive up important metrics like LTV and retention and also purchases. And with that, the first goal of our research was to gauge where brands are at and what they are planning for this specific year, 2021. And as everyone knows on this call, the COVID-19 pandemic has emphasized the importance of digital first and also digital only customer experiences. And 60% of the marketing decision makers said that their budget will increase in the next 12 months. So in this case, 2021 up until February of next year. So no surprise that the top three areas brands are looking to invest in our customer satisfaction measurements. Number one, customer engagement, and third would be mobile optimization and apps. And the second goal for our research was to uncover what the challenges are. And when we heard overwhelmingly that it's connecting campaign results to an actual revenue and business impact, even as brands experiences considerable momentum in customer engagement and express a lot of confidence about it, the thread is breaking when it actually comes to demonstrating success, and brands are losing momentum because of it. So while 88% of marketing leaders believe that their teams have excellent or good customer engagement practices, 74% of them still worry that their metrics don't translate into a tangible business outcome. So one of the main factors contributing to this problem is that teams within a given organization don't always agree on what success looks like. And as you see here on the screen, only 26% of the marketing leaders say that their firms have shared a company-wide definition of success when it comes to customer engagement. So the idea of having clear objectives shared across the teams is just one area where brands are either struggling or doing well. And we wanted to dig into the other competencies that seem to fuel great customer experiences. So with that, as you see here on the screen, we thought the best way to do that would be to design a maturity framework based on the questions that we asked all those 1,300 VP plus in marketing, and uncover 12 different areas of competencies that we think are important for customer engagement. So on the technology axis, as you see here, we asked about, for example, customer engagement channels their companies use, how they segment and classify customers, how sophisticated their use of data is, and then went on to ask about orchestration, performance, and also the personalization side of things. And on the team axis, we asked about the respondents' company cultures, whether if they regularly test and learn, and how success is being measured and defined, and generally also about the ownership of customer engagement engagement at their companies. And from there, we found three clear levels of maturity. Number one, activate brands. These are companies just beginning to recognize customer engagement as important to their business goals. And number two would be accelerate brands, collaborating across departments, but they're still very campaign oriented, and they may not have a complete view of customers across platforms and channels. And finally, the ACE brands. These are the top performing brands in the index, and that's what we are going to talk about today with Ibotta here. And through our decision maker survey and aggregated Braze customer data, we found that being an ACE has a direct revenue impact, right? So when ACE brands commit to a deeper level of personalization, or even use a cross-channel approach, or when they collaborate more, when they test more, they have a common shared understanding of success. And the impact, as you see here on the screen, speaks for itself. So ACE brands drive a high number of buyers who are making more purchases and who spend more with each purchase. And this is what the customer engagement review all about. And this is how we have bucketed brands into activate, accelerate, and ACE brands. And now to talk more about how ACE brands defines customer engagement and their success, I'm going to hand it over to you, Erica. Take it away.
Great, thank you so much. So as was mentioned, my name is Erica Rutledge. I am an associate marketing manager on the lifecycle marketing team at Ibotta. And now, for those of you unfamiliar with Ibotta, we provide cashback offers in store and online through our app, and as of last year, our browser extension on web. The core of our business focuses on cashback for grocery offers, but we also offer cashback for gift card purchases, e-commerce transactions, and more. I've been with Ibotta for about 2.5 years now. I focus on the retention and engagement efforts for our existing users. More specifically, I focus on driving incremental grocery offer redemptions through monetary incentives such as bonuses, where a user will get money added to their account if they redeem a certain number of offers during the time frame a bonus is live, and other incentives. My team also focuses on activation of new users, reactivation of dormant users, and crossover to other areas of the business like online shopping and our browser extension. So in the next 2 slides, I'm going to speak to some key learnings across the user lifecycle and highlight one of our most powerful programs that we launched last November for Thanksgiving. So as I mentioned, I look for opportunities to engage active users, but also to prevent users from going dormant. We do this by maximizing use of our data to deliver value back to our users. Through this, we have 4 major takeaways that fall under the tech and team customer engagement strategies previously mentioned. So when it comes to having the right tech, Ibotta utilizes all of our active channels because we see the highest engagement rates and the best ROI when we do. Such channels include email, push, in-app messages, SMS, and webhooks. And we're also looking to launch new channels such as web push since we launched our browser extension last year, and we want to meet the user where they're shopping. We have also seen personalization drive engagement. One way we use personal data in this way is by celebrating milestone moments, like when a saver earns their first $20. This is such an important moment in a user's life cycle for us because it creates this dopamine moment, a level of excitement after earning a substantial amount of money with Ibotta. And because we don't want to miss this important moment, we celebrate with them by sending communications through all of our channels to highlight it, and so they don't lose momentum, which in turn leads to higher open rates, higher click-through rates, and more redeemed offers, which is exactly what we want to see. Team structure and collaboration are crucial to our success as well. The team at Ibotta has grown exponentially over the last few years, and as such, we have reevaluated our team structure to ensure team alignment and make collaboration easier. Previously, my team focused on retention of existing users, and another team focused on activation of new users. While we did meet often to collaborate, there was opportunity for us to improve the user lifecycle together, so our teams were combined into one to provide that improved alignment internally for our team as well as externally for our users who receive different programming depending on where they're at in their lifecycle. So essentially, we wanted to make that handoff a bit smoother. Beyond team collaboration on lifecycle, though, we also work cross-functionally with product, engineering, analytics, creative, and other teams across the business on a regular basis to ensure a cohesive experience, to test new ideas, and ultimately drive more redemptions. One example of this is when we worked with our analytics team to add holdouts to our SMS channel so we could understand its impact and best way to utilize it. We learned that it should be used for high impact messages because the audience tends to be some of our most highly engaged users, and as such will be the most receptive to new products and tests we're running. Without this test, we could have seen higher opt-out rates or other negative impacts because we weren't utilizing the channel in the right way, which is why you should always be testing your communications, testing your channels, and testing any programs you're running. Don't assume anything. And even if you achieve positive results, retest to optimize those results because they can always be improved. So you might be asking yourself for an example of how we apply these learnings. On the next slide, I'll speak to our free Thanksgiving program to provide that information. So last year, we launched our novel free Thanksgiving program, where we partnered with Walmart and other major brands to provide 100% cash back on Thanksgiving groceries. It required collaboration across the entire company and with external brands, but our team structure helped set us up for success to deliver a personalized omni-channel experience that allowed us to drive multiple initiatives at once. Such initiatives include user acquisition, increased referrals, product adoption, crossover to grocery pickup and delivery category, re-engagement of inactive users, deepen customer advocacy and brand awareness, a lot of different initiatives. So to accomplish these, we segmented users based on data like registration date, redemption frequency, and more to provide different paths for those users, each with its own goal in mind. For example, we broke active users out into two subsegments, those who had downloaded our new browser extension and those who had not. Our goal for those who had the extension downloaded was to engage and retain them, whereas the goal for those who had not downloaded the extension was to drive crossover to that new product. Because of this segmentation, we're able to successfully launch our new product, taking us to hundreds of thousands of new users on web, as well as see an increase in retention rates. So as you can see, using personal data to drive engagement strategies can accomplish more than just one goal if you segment properly. Now, in addition to using segmentation, our communications played a major role in the success of the program. We supported it through all channels, launching over 50 triggered communications, and we saw pretty awesome results with an average 66% open rate, which is much higher than the industry standard and even our own company standard. In this slide, you can actually see some examples of what our cross-channel communications looked like. And although these communications were handled by different teams, you can see that visually they all feel and look the same, and they mirror the product experience as well. This again speaks to the high level of collaboration and team structure that led us to success. Now, one other accomplishment I would be remiss not to mention is that because of the free Thanksgiving program, we fed 3 million Americans, which equates to about 1% of the population. This is such a humbling stat, given how hard of a year 2020 was for many. Plus, a lot of our savers actually donated the food, so those more in need could benefit from it, which is always great to see. And honestly, it's these moments that are a big reason why I love my job. There's nothing more satisfying than doing work that positively impacts the lives of so many people. And while I do love doing work that improves people's lives, it's also important that your work positively impacts the business, which I will speak to more in my next slide. So I've already spoken to some of the incredible results that came from the Thanksgiving program, but there are a few more that I want to highlight, including activation, monetization, and retention. As you can see, we drove activation with over 1 million new users and a 5x increase in referral month over month. This was a huge increase from any other month during 2020 and shows how strong the user acquisition and PR team's plans were in bringing in new users from TV ads to referral programming and more. We also sought to monetize specific areas of the business like grocery pickup and delivery, because it was a new category we launched last year in response to the shifting shopping behaviors moving online during COVID. To do this, we set up trigger communications promoting pickup or delivery, as well as including it in the primary messaging and the hierarchy of the communications plan. Because of these efforts, we increased the online grocery redemptions by over 200%, seeing adoption of a new feature we had put so much time and effort into launching earlier that year. So we're really great to see that pay off. And finally, when it came to retention, we hoped this program would reactivate users who had gone dormant by providing a high value hook. And then once we hooked them and activated them, easing them back into earning cash back with Ibotta by creating programming specifically for them. Through this, we were able to reactivate 250,000 users who had previously been dormant. Plus, when we asked our savers how the free Thanksgiving program made them feel about Ibotta, 76% said the campaign makes them proud to be a user, and 86% said the campaign made them want to use Ibotta more. So we were able to drive that customer loyalty, which plays a huge part in the lifetime value of a user. Overall, the program was a win for everyone. It was a win for our business. It was a win for our clients, and it was a win for our users. And of course, we learned a lot from it, and we'll apply those learnings to future programming. And then on the final slide really just summarizes what we've been talking about. So this is the ACE factor when it comes to Ibotta. This is where we excel at. So as I mentioned with tech, we use data to drive a lot of our decision and programming, and then to segment those users down different paths to drive multiple initiatives at once. That was seen in the free Thanksgiving program, and we had a lot of positive results from that. And then, as I said with teams, we actually recently restructured, as I mentioned before. I think that's always good with our company growing at such a fast pace. I think it's always good to reevaluate to make sure you're set up for success, giving those changes to the environment. So we already are a very collaborative environment. I work with stakeholders across the business, always keeping a bird's eye view of what's going on, what they're doing impacts me, and vice versa, what I'm doing, how it impacts them. And then always experimenting. One of our values is a good idea can come from anywhere. So always want to experiment, test new ideas, and push the limits of how you can improve them. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved all the insights. So for those of you interested in the customer engagement review, if you want to dive deeper, please visit braze.com/CER. With that, Erica, I enjoyed the Thanksgiving campaign that you have done. And then you said, this is what makes your job meaningful. I can absolutely agree with you on that. So amazing campaign, amazing results. So how about we spend the next few minutes diving a little deeper into Fireside Chat? I do have a few questions. How does that sound?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome, very good. So we talked about staffing and team structure. So I'm going to start with that. The first question is, if you could tell the audience today, how is your team organized and how does that structure help you achieve your goals, number one? And number two, how does it help you in your day-to-day work, Erica?
Sure. So having cross-functional support definitely helps us test and learn quickly. The lifecycle team is organized by lifecycle stage. So some of us focus on retention of existing users, while others focus on the activation of new and dormant users. And I mentioned this earlier, but there's a recent change to our team structure. So that way we could improve that alignment across teams on what that handoff looks like so it doesn't feel disjointed. And we also work with partners across the business, analytics, product engineering, more. And we meet with those teams on a regular basis, always want to keep those lines of communication open. We set up these regular meetings with them and stay abreast of their team initiatives, understand how our tests, like I said, impact their areas of focus. And plus, getting more perspectives is always beneficial for innovation because it's easy to get siloed in your own work instead of thinking how what you're doing impacts the larger company goals. So I think just making sure that you're always meeting with people, even if it might not seem that what they're doing will directly impact you, you can always get new ideas and get great collaboration that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Erica, you mentioned a few times life cycle teams, right? So I want to ask you if you could talk a little bit about the actual structure of each of the life cycle team. How many developers or product managers do you work with, let's say, on the retention team? And when you look at the customer acquisition team, would it be the same or would that be different?
Yeah, so there are 3 of us that focus on retention. And then 3 that focus on new users and dormant users. We kind of have it split in half and focus for the lifecycle team. So me and my direct report specifically focus on increasing grocery offer redemptions, while our counterpart who focuses on retention as well, her area of focus is on crossover to other lines of business and crossing users over into them. So like I said, our browser extension into different categories like grocery pickup, delivery, online shopping. And then our activation team also has 3 people, and that's broken out by those areas of focus of activation of new users and then reactivation of dormant users. So they split it up a little bit differently than us, but that is what we have found like works well for us. But we're also going through transition right now. We're reevaluating on seeing if that's the best setup for our team. But so far it's worked really well.
Amazing. And let's move into the classification side of business now. And before I ask you the question, I want to remind everyone now, please use the question functionality in Zoom or chat functionality to ask us questions. We would pick it up right after this Fireside Chat. So question to you, Erica, how did you segment the Ibotta user base for the free Thanksgiving dinner that you talked about? And generally, how do you approach segmentation and classification?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we segmented users using webhooks based on a variety of criteria, such as registration dates and others. And then depending on which segment they fell into, the free offers could have been available immediately upon launch of the program, or we could have required you to take an action to unlock them. So create a little friction there. And that was aiming to drive different goals, like I said, of product adoption, et cetera. Generally, before segmenting users, though, we like to think of the end goal and how to best segment users to achieve that goal. So by breaking up new users, existing users, and dormant users, for example, allows us to draw concrete lines between teams and the programming we run, and then also create different paths for those users as well, because they're going to need very different experiences to engage them and then retain them long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Erica, we live in a world today where your consumers have the opportunity to interact with multiple devices and multiple channels, right? Let that be smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, PCs, and the list has been growing on one side. And on the other side, if you look at the channels, email, SMS, web push notifications, mobile push, in-app, the list has been keep on growing. And you mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, cross-channel, right? So how do you employ cross-channels to create brilliant connected customer experiences?
Yeah, I actually think this is something that we have a lot of opportunity still to improve on, because up until last year, we were just a mobile only company. So that's all we had to focus on. And then all of a sudden we launched the browser extension and it threw this whole new channel opportunity into the mix. So we've been working, like I said, to launch those new communication channels like web push and browser messages so we can meet the saver where they're using Ibotta. But also, we've been updating our ongoing evergreen triggered lifecycle communications to include more personalization based on what platform a user is redeeming on. So that way we can drive crossover to different channels. And then also, like what categories they're using. We're always looking to make that experience personalized while also trying to drive crossover to other lines of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the points that stuck with me when you were presenting, Erica, is that testing is king. Right. And 100% agree with you on that. So I want to ask you in terms of the culture in your company, how do you develop that mindset, number one, of, culture of testing and experimentation? How do you give your marketers the freedom to come up with new ideas to experiment at Ibotta?
Yeah, ultimately, I think this comes from the top down with leadership setting that team culture. Like I said, one of our values is a good idea can come from anywhere. And I think that value drives that mindset of experimentation, because we are encouraged and sometimes even rewarded to bring new ideas to the table and test them and see if they'll pass the litmus test. It also lies in the collaborative environment we have at Ibotta, because we often test our best ideas, from working cross-functionally with other departments to brainstorm solutions. And, sometimes we've even held Shark Tank style competitions to get those different ideas. So we've actually put money behind the best ones. So coming forward with, ideas of scope and impact, level of effort, and then choosing which ones are going to be the most valuable, and then running with them and putting money behind to test them. That's ultimately just the culture here, is just always test. And it's very easy to feel like stagnant with your communications. Never want to do that. Things are constantly changing. So we always try to retest, even if it's something we've done, like let's say a few years ago, and we figured out like how we want to best use SMS. That can change. We want to retest that.
Yeah, amazing. And I love the idea of using Shark Tank as a way to motivate people, right? And putting some money behind it, some sort of, incentive, so that, employees get motivated to come up with new ideas. Amazing. So I do have final couple of questions. And in the meantime, I want to remind everyone watching the show to use the chat functionality or Q&A to ask us questions. I do see we have quite a lot of questions coming in already. So with that, wrapping questions to number one, what's the one tip or advice that you can share with brands today that they can start implementing tomorrow? Erica.
Yeah, I think this goes into what I was just saying, that I think the simplest thing that brands can do is ask their employees for ideas on how to improve their product and user experience. I think, it doesn't matter what your day-to-day responsibilities are or what your title is. We all experience our own businesses and products as a user as well. And so being able to come forward if you have an idea and then run with it is huge. So like I said, we do Shark Tank style competitions. It doesn't have to be that formal or intense, but just putting it out there that we want your ideas, we want to test them. And then ultimately we want to take them to fruition, make sure that they're going to work and then make them real, which to me is always cool to see. If you come with an idea and then it has a real impact on the business, that's always very rewarding for employees.
Yeah, absolutely. You should have a real impact for business. And then you also mentioned, ideas can come from everywhere. So it's about building that mentality and mindset within the company so that, people feel free to come up with new ideas, which is beneficial for the business. And the last question to you, Erica, based on everything that we have talked about, what's next for Ibotta?
Yeah, we have a lot of exciting things coming. Actually, tomorrow, there's going to be an announcement. I can't say much about it other than we are using our learnings from the Free Thanksgiving program to drive what's next. So definitely stay tuned. It's going to be super exciting. Another very impactful program, we hope. And then other than that, just overall, we have a lot of great things in the work across the board, from new product features, marketing efforts. Like I said, making our lifecycle communications more omni-channel focused is definitely a huge goal for this next year, so that we can continue to drive crossover to new products and also just have that personalization for the user, make sure it makes sense. And yeah, a lot of great things. We just announced a partnership with Walmart, so stay tuned for that as well, because we have a lot of great things coming out that way.
Fantastic, Erica. I'm so excited to see what's going to come up tomorrow. Very excited. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Okay, with that, I want to open up questions to the audience. Like I said, we do have a few questions coming in. I do see a few of you commenting, it's a great presentation. Yes, and then I'm going to pick up one question now. I do see that we are approaching the time. What kind of data did Ibotta need for the free Thanksgiving dinner campaign?
Yeah, so we needed historical data to create the segments to begin with, to send users down those different paths. But we also used real-time data to keep those various segments of users engaged beyond the free Thanksgiving offers. So as an example, if a user had redeemed all of those free offers, we then had triggered comms to showcase other complimentary offers. that they might need for Thanksgiving. So kind of honing in on those basket adjacent offers, because we don't want it to just be one and done, right? Like you come in for this really big program, we want it to be beyond that big hook. How do we keep you engaged beyond that? And like I said, for historical data, we used things like whether you had sessioned or not, what redemption frequency. So how we segment them out into, let's say, like new, dormant, and then active users, and then the active split of active with our browser extension and then active without. So we had all these various segmentations, and then use that to determine whether or not they needed to take an action or not to unlock the offers.
Amazing. Erica, thank you for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to host you and to talk about customer engagement. It was very insightful. And to everyone who took the time to join us today for this session, I want to thank all the audience as well. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Erica. Have a great day wherever you are, everyone.
Thank you.
Andrea, I believe you are on mute.
It's like when I figure it should like unmute me right away when I'm brought back. But so thank you guys so much. It was really great to hear the way your companies are prioritizing both tech and teamwork in order to really get those full benefits of consumer engagement. It was great to see the results of the Thanksgiving campaign and the impact personalizing the communication had on the results, major increases in open rates, and also that driving of the loyalty. That's really awesome. So best of both worlds in those results. Also love the idea of using Shark Tank to kind of get some ideas from employees and a way to motivate and find kind of new ideas that could come up through the system and from the team. Really fun. So great stuff. Thank you again to you both for sharing with us today. It was a really great session.
Thank you so much for having us.
Very much for having us.
Sure.
Thank you.
Great rest of your day.
Thank you.